Howdy, everyone. Wyatt Watson. Welcome back to another episode of Through the Gears, where we go into the best bets going into the tricky triangle of Pocono Raceway. Last week at Mexico City, we weren't so fortunate with SVG taking the W with about 4-1 odds going into the weekend, 4.5-1 odds after practice. So, to y'all who got on him, congratulations. For us here at Through the Gears, we are looking to bounce back in a big way out in the Pocono Mountains for the 3, 4, 5, whatever you want to call it, turns here at Pocono Raceway. I'm joined this week by Tino Pattigno once again. On multiple different shows. You find him on Sirius XM, on Tubi, all over the place. Glad to have him on the show once again. Feel free to leave a comment on our YouTube video, and I will get to y'all's comment and give y'all input and read it out on the next episode. I appreciate all of y'all for tuning in. But without further ado, let's get into it at Pocono as we go through the gears. Joining me now is my good buddy Tino Pattigno. You can catch him on Tubi Fridays at 7:45 p.m. or a.m. Eastern time. Tino, it's great to have you on the show once again as we get on the tricky triangle this weekend.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm super excited to be back on the show, especially talking Pocono with you. It is tricky. It is a triangle, and I'm super excited to not only talk about that, talk about the different drivers that will be a factor in this one, maybe some strategy calls like we saw in the years prior at this racetrack. So excited to break it all down. Got some best bets for you too, so I'm looking forward to going on here and talking about it all with you here tonight.
What better way to start it with a driver that tricked me up last year? And now a two-time winner here at Pocono, and Ryan Blaney at 7-1, his second favorite going into this weekend. Blaney, man, he had a stellar performance. I went heavy on Denny Hamlin last year at this track. Hamlin's owned this track so many times in the past, but Blaney has had really solid performances in the past as well, especially in last year's win. What are you thinking about him now going into this weekend? And he's only has the one win this season, and really this seems like it's a potential to be his playground once again.
Definitely. And I think especially with the type of unique racetrack this is at Pocono, right? We see a lot of high speeds with the big front stretch. Obviously, the 3 turns or what turn 4. People like to say there's potentially 5 turns at this racetrack.
Who is it
That's
that said
something
that?
I've seen the memes on Twitter. Because if you think about it, quick breakdown for the viewers here. Because if you think about it, right, the way we break down turns 1 and turns 2 on a normal regular oval, you have turns 1 and 2 coming from the same curve. So if we're using that same math, there's 5 turns at Pocono. But I digress with that. Back to the Ryan Blaney, because with him being plus 700 this weekend, he was double the price last year at plus 1,400, and I was able to get him, earlier on in the week and get him for an outright winner last year at Pocono. I don't think we'll probably ever see a number as high as that at this specific racetrack for Ryan Blaney because of the fact that the speeds are so high here on the front stretch, just like we're seeing at Michigan, we're seeing at Kansas, those type of comparable tracks to the front stretch specifically at Pocono here, I think is the main takeaway that I try to, pull some data from. That's why drivers like Denny Hamlin, we saw him win at Michigan. We see Ryan Blaney be fast at those types of racetracks. And I feel like that's why they're the favorites in this one as well. And I don't mind looking at Ryan Blaney again in this one, why he not only brings the raw speed onto the track each and every week, but I feel like the long run speed is another thing that he excels at. And if that happens here at Pocono like it has in the past, and even if you want to say, okay, long run speed may not factor in that much, they still have strategy calls, which won them their race at Nashville earlier this year as well.
We know who else benefited off strategy at a similar big track a couple weeks ago is newly father of 3, Denny Hamlin, coming in as the favorite at 5-1. And no doubt you should, because he's owned this track for years on end. He's coming off that big win at Michigan with a proper strategy call. Pocono does open itself up to be kind of like when you see at a road course when you get the pit stops before the 2 to go, 3 to go, because you can make a pit stop here at Pocono no problem and stay on the lead lap. But Hamlin, on the other hand, has had wins here in the next Gen 6, Gen 5, all the way back to the Gen 4. Since the start of his career, he has been so dominant at Pocono Raceway that they have a statue of him literally at the speedway, and he's still driving. So now coming off of having this kid, having a week off to prepare for this race, Hamlin at 5-1 really sticks out to me going into Pocono.
Sticks out to me as well because I feel like this is a driver. How I had the high praise for Ryan Blaney. If I were to put anyone up in front of him in a head-to-head matchup for this race specifically to put on our outright betting card, and I know I'm getting into that right now, but I have to do it for Denny Hamlin. I think he's a driver that I feel like you got to have on your card. If you're playing in those one-and-done fantasy leagues as well out there, this could be an opportunity to use Denny Hamlin. It's just because he's so strong consistently at this racetrack. Whether or not he's going to go out and get the win this weekend, I think a beneficial factor to him not going to Mexico is the fact that he didn't really have to worry about all of the travel back and forth. And think about it like this too, Wyatt. Don't get me wrong. I know, he was there for his family and having a stressful time with the baby and everything that, goes on with that. But it's kind of like he's coming off of a bye week. He didn't race last weekend. And I think when you factor that in with someone that has been so strong at this specific track like Pocono and is coming off momentum from Michigan, Denny Hamlin, to me, I know he's plus 500 right now. And hey, maybe after practice and qualifying, we can see that number grow larger because he's not the best qualifier that we've seen. And same thing with practice. I feel like he just doesn't really put that much effort into those things he really doesn't need to with how he's been running on Sundays. So plus 500, if you want to take that now, I don't mind it, but I would give myself a chance to see that number grow larger on Sunday. Why? What do you think about that when it comes to Denny Hamlin?
Yeah, I kind of agree because sometimes you never know what happens with practice qualifying. I think if he gets the pole, you're not going to. I think I'm on the other side of the fence here because he's dominated on every aspect of this track. That if he finds pole, kind of like how we saw SVG, if you can get a number before, like in between practice and qualifying, if markets are still open in between those sessions, then yes, absolutely go for Denny Hamlin on a bigger number. But if he gets pole, he's going to be falling maybe to a 4-1 number, maybe plus 375 number as well for Denny Hamlin. 5-1 could grow possibly to a 6-1, 6.5, no more probably. He's still going to be favorite money unless someone just comes out and has blistering pace here at Pocono, like maybe a Christopher Bell or dare I say a Ty Gibbs, who's won pole here before. And speaking of his Toyota teammates, that's the people I'm also looking at farther down the list. You have Christopher Bell at 10-1, Tyler Reddick with the best average finisher in the next gen era at 3.3, no wins, however, here. And then you have Ty Gibbs with the pole. He was at 22-1. His numbers grown even a 20-1, probably thanks to his good run at Mexico City, which at Mexico City was a 50-1 number before skyrocketing into like the teens before the green flag. So those guys, and especially I think Bell, who qualifies well in the next gen car wherever we go. Tyler Reddick with his record here, and then Ty Gibbs again with how he's ran at Pocono in the past as well. I think those guys could definitely challenge the number 11 Toyota.
I could see that being a possibility for sure. Another driver I throw out there to be a challenger for Denny Hamlin, Kyle Larson, right? We talk about him every week being the favorite. This is one of the first weeks where he's not, and Denny is just beating him outright, up front, straight up on the market for these sports books here, as he should be, right? So if you're looking for value on Kyle Larson, I would say this is it at plus 650 right now on some books, plus 700. He opened up at earlier this week. That's something where we're not seeing that price normally for Kyle Larson, specifically when we go to any type of racetrack. He always seems to be the favorite, and he doesn't seem to grow from past plus 600. I would say he's another type of driver where I can expect him to go out and have a strong run, potentially pull it like you mentioned there, at least have a strong starting spot. If that does happen, I'd keep in mind the top 10 starting positions for drivers that have started there have won Pocono the past few years here. An eighth, and a third in terms of where drivers have started from to win this race in the next gen era. I think that's important. 7 out of 91 times at this racetrack have only the driver started outside of the top 20. So not many times for those mathematicians out there. So to me, I think a driver like Kyle Larson can come with speed. William Byron as well, got to throw him out there. I know there's some underdogs as well we can get to, but I feel like for the favorites, it's got to be Denny Hamlin or Ryan Blaney for me this weekend.
Oh, absolutely. Kyle Larson, another note for him. Yeah, he opened at 7-1, and you could tell on a ticker as we went live, his numbers already jumped back up to plus 650. He was plus 750 right before we started the show. So Kyle Larson's number has been in flux going into practice. The bets, the sports books don't know where to put Kyle Larson here, and he hasn't won in the next gen era. I mean, he has a top 5 in 2022, but he hasn't. He's finished outside top 10 in recent years. I'd rather, again, and I've been harping on, he's gonna get one eventually. William Byron at plus 750. He's won a pole here 2 years ago. He finished 4th here after starting 2nd here before. So he's started real well at Pocono. He's ran up front for the most part. It's just a matter of, can Rudy Fugle and those guys on pit road get it done for the 24 team? And that's what it boils down to. William Byron getting the win here. He's been very fast here at Pocono before. It's just staying up there and getting that clean air, because once you relinquish the lead, as you saw in last year's finish with Hamlin trying to get up there, it is tough to pass here at Pocono once they get spread out. The restart is so important at this track. And if William Byron can utilize that and to his advantage this time around, I can certainly see the number 24 team getting a victory here as well. It wasn't a great week at Mexico City whatsoever. Bad call on my part there. I had him heavy as well there, but life goes on. And I think the 24 team can certainly bounce back at Pocono. We're going to look farther down the list, including his teammate Chase Elliott, 16-1, Joey Logano, 20-1 numbers. That's when you start getting into the dog conversation with Chris Buescher. At 20-1 is his boss Brad Keselowski at 22-1. Carson Hocevar 25-1, Ross Chastain 25-1, Bubba Wallace 31-1 with the 2311 team, and really I think 2311. I think they've shown speed at this track, and it's tough to bet them this year just because of how. And I wrote it for our Friday face-off segment that really 2311 has not shown that speed for what they shown last year. And Bubba Wallace 31-1, absolutely great value, but that 2311 squad really needs to show speed at one of these tracks eventually. And I think Pocono could certainly be a track like that.
I think so too. And hey, one thing I'll mention to your point, Wyatt, is with the tracks we're going to, again, like repeatedly for this 2311 team, we expect them to be fast at Kansas. We expect them to be fast at Michigan. And for the most part, when I'm saying them, I'm really talking about Tyler Reddick. Bubba Wallace has come on strong this year, exceeded expectations to start the year in terms of how he was getting stage points and navigating those races to get inside the top 10 in point standings. Now, at this point, he had a rough stretch. I would say he's back. Mexico, I'm kind of not really looking at specifically in this one, although he had a strong run going there for his standards at road courses. I'm looking at the races like Michigan, where he finished inside the top 5, Nashville, when he finished 6th, I believe. That, to me, after a few 30-place finishes, puts me on to Bubba Wallace being back. But what about Tyler Reddick? He's a driver, like you said. These are races where we go to and we expect these guys to be winning. We expect them to be leading laps. For Tyler Reddick specifically, hasn't done that thus far this year. But the thing that I'm on with Reddick this weekend specifically is the fact that I don't want to lose when he goes out and potentially wins this weekend at Pocono. I don't think I can risk something like that. When I bet on him consistently, hey, when we go to a road course, I think he's going to be fast. Like I mentioned Michigan, I mentioned Kansas being opportunities for him. Darlington, he was there at the end, but didn't get the job done. But Tyler Reddick here, I think this is a good spot, not only to get him on your card, but to get him with value. I'm seeing him out there 12-1 could be a number, 10-1 on other sports books. Obviously, shop around for the best price if you can. But for Tyler Reddick this weekend, I can see this being an opportunity to where he's finished 3rd here a bunch of times. He has the best next-gen average finish out of all active drivers at Pocono. If he can continue to just hang around up front, maybe things can go their way. Got to be clean on pit road. Got to be clean throughout the race, on the stages, make sure the strategy's right, make sure, the pit stops are clean and the driver's doing his part. If all those things go right for Tyler Reddick and that 45 team, I do believe they can get into victory lane here at Pocono with the speed they've had in the past. And I'm not willing to not bet them this weekend and have that be taken away from me, just like that happened to some people with Ryan Blaney in Nashville this year.
Hey, it happened to me at Ryan Blaney last year here. I feel like, because again, just the average finish, the numbers really don't lie for Tyler Reddick here at Pocono with the 3.3 average finish, like I've harped on. And I'm almost you're almost selling him there, but there's so many players at the front, and it's really the consistency for me and the lack thereof with 23-11. I think part of that could also be attributed to the lawsuit going on. Part of it's also with the third car. We and the broadcast frequently forget that Riley Herbst is kind of an anchor for this team. It seems like he's not even had a top 10 finish. He almost had it at Mexico before a self spin, and almost taking out Ricky Stenhouse Jr. before we got chapter 2 between him and Carson Hocevar. But I digress with that. But 23-11 has had those signs. And they've had moments. I mean, Bubba Wallace fired off the gates really well this year at tracks like the Martinsville and at Kansas and even at road courses from time. I mean, they started 1-2 at Coda earlier this year. Like they started off the gate pretty well, and they're still, and he's solidly where he's normally at in the points, about 10th or 11th, and it's really Reddick that is the beaming light here, where he won here. He won at multiple tracks last year. He won the regular season championship, and he hasn't been able to replicate that speed, that race winning speed that is, to compete for the wins. And that's why the books really have backed off on Tyler Reddick on the ovals mainly. And they might start doing it at road courses because of people like SVG, people like the road course ringers of Michael McDowell and AJ Allmendinger, and then some. But this is a race that Tyler Reddick can get up and certainly win because of the pace the 45 team really has at the bigger tracks. I like it. I think he's going to be just short of my list when we go into our race winning or race picks. Finally, I'm going to look even farther down and see if we could fish anyone else, because you still have guys like Kyle Busch at a massive 41. Alex Bowman's moved to a 30-1. Mm-hmm. Chase Briscoe, who's won multiple, like 3 of the last 4 polls, is at 28-1. I think that's even better than I've seen at a lot of other ovals for Chase Briscoe. Josh Berry, I always like to call him out, at 50-1. And Austin Cindric isn't too far off the list at 80-1. And then Ryan Preece, who's shown really quick pace, 55-1. Any of those guys really pop out to you and potentially could be on your radar?
I think so. Alex Bowman's the one I'm going to pull out here, because with him being in Hendrick Motorsports equipment and a 30-1 number to win this race, that's something that's intriguing to a lot of people. And I feel like that is the case with Chase Elliott having value, Alex Bowman as well from time to time being in this sort of situation. Can they go out and beat Kyle Larson and William Byron? I don't think so, because I haven't seen that happening from them having faster speed from the 9 or 48 than those 2 top tier drivers at HMS right now. But if there's a place where it's going to happen, it's Pocono for Alex Bowman. Over the last 6 Pocono races, minus 2023, Bowman has 1 win and a 6.2 average finish at this track. We remember last year with Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney battling it out. Well, the third driver in that mix was Alex Bowman. So to me, if we're thinking about underdogs in this one, give me Alex Bowman, who's an Hendrick Motorsports driver. I think he's got a strong shot. Like I said, I don't see him going out raw long run speed and beating those top tier drivers that we talked about, but I can see him winning this race based off of a strategy call or based off of him having speed here in the past. It's something where this could be a perfect storm for him. Seeing that value the where it is right now at 30-1, I think is a strong spot for me to say, okay, we're going to a track like Pocono for him. It's not like it's a track where he doesn't have success at. He does have success here, and the data that we can use to back it up. So for him, out of those underdog drivers, I would say Alex Bowman's one to keep an eye on.
I wasn't going to say this guy at all until I look at the driver averages for Pocono. Sneaking into the top 10, Eric Jones at 10.7. He's 80-1 to win outright. But if we're gonna go for the home run ball numbers like that, and with the pace 20 or with the pace rather Legacy Motor Club has shown over the past couple of weeks, not just on ovals. I mean, shoot, you had John Hunter Nemechek finishing top 10 in Mexico City. Like both those drivers have shown great pace in the last couple of weeks. Like maybe you're not going to take Eric Jones to win outright, sure, but if you're going to look at his top 10 number at plus 275, you're looking at even John Hunter Nemechek's top 10 number at 10-1. I mean, that's we're talking about race winners that have even less odds. Like, why not go for a guy like John Hunter Nemechek or Eric Jones with the pace that they've shown, even on the big ovals as well? That's that I wasn't going to mention them at all in this episode until I looked on my screen, and that's definitely a numbers on the prop side I'd look at. But 80-1, I mean, just fire off $5. You never know if things get crazy and Eric Jones has good race pace in the 43 car. You never know what could happen at the Tricky Triangle. And Eric Jones 80-1. That's the underdog I would take before practice and qualifying. Bowman, I do like that pick, honestly, to circle back to that. Again, a race winner in 2021 in crazy fashion. That was Kyle Larson's race to win. Yeah. But yeah, I almost forget that he was in top 5 battles, and not just that year, but in a couple other years where he's ran top 10 before falling out for problems or just other people having better adjustments and whatnot. But the 48 team has shown good speed all throughout the year, and I think this is a track that they can kind of circle back and kind of find that rhythm back again, because they've had bad luck after bad luck after bad luck in the last couple of races. The 48 team at 30-1, that's great value for Alex Bowman, a former winner here, and that's a very, very solid bet. Oh, so he had the best friends. He was leading in that best friends scheme. Is what I'm remembering. So I kind of like that. And shoot, I mean, he had great pace at Homestead, Miami earlier in the year. Kind of a intermediate, but I think the corner, like at least the turn one, call it turn 1 and 2 corner, if we want to call it a 5 corner track. I think Bowman really has great pace with that corner, even turn 3 as well in the 48. He just gets it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say at this track. So we're going to move on into our betting card here. And for my outrights, I'm going to go straight to it. Denny Hamlin, 5-1. You can never bet against him at this track. If you do, you are putting yourself at massive risk to lose in the weekend. And I learned my lesson from not taking SVG as an outright favorite in the last show. I'm going to put, and granted, my units is 10-1 or $10 units is my unit balance. I'd put 4 units on Denny Hamlin to win this race. Along with him, I'm going to go with Ryan Blaney, who's actually moved down to the 3rd favorite behind Kyle Larson. Look, Larson's numbers don't compare to Ryan Blaney. Yes, he should have won in 2021, but in the next era, he just hasn't been in position to win, except for the time where him and Hamlin kind of got into it, trying to fight for the win. He kind of fell out because of the damage. But Denny Hamlin is just too much of the it factor here at Pocono to go with him. So I'll go with the guy that outright beat him on pace and with Ryan Blaney last year at 7-1. Half the value, still worthy to get at 7-1. Thirdly, I'll go with a Joe Gibbs Racing teammate, Christopher Bell, at 10-1. Like, I mean, Ty Gibbs has double the odds at 20-1, but he's yet to win a race. And from last year's bad luck, and I was struck by that bad luck when he got the pole at 20-1, it's just not enough for me to go for Ty Gibbs with how his year has gone so far. So why not take a guy who has already won multiple times this year in Christopher Bell and qualifies damn well anywhere we go with 2.5 units placed on him. And then William Byron, he was at 8-1. He struck down to 7.5-1 now as we record this on Thursday. 2.5 units off. It was off Bet MGM. I think it's on Bet Rivers is his best shop now at plus 750. William Byron, again, he's qualified well. He's finished top 5 last year. He's led laps here, and it's just a matter of getting that full race for the 24 team, and he's freaking due. I will say it every week. He is freaking due for a win. I think it could happen here at Pocono. Tino, what you got cooking on your side of the card?
Well, I love everything you mentioned there. William Byron, specifically for me, I don't have him on my card just yet, but he is definitely a driver that scares me in terms of not having him. So I like that play from your end. Maybe I'd be adding him depending on where he starts as well. For me, he's definitely a driver I have my eye on, but I wanted to allude to that because although he's not on my card, definitely someone to take a look at. Denny Hamlin, Ryan Blaney, you mentioned them as well. They're the first two that I feel like need to be on your card this weekend. Like they're on your card, they're on my card. For people tuning in right now, I would just feel like those drivers, they can start in two different spots during the race and still give you good confidence that they're going to be ending up 1-2 in this one. I feel like Denny Hamlin could be starting back half of the top 10, and you can imagine that although he has poor qualifying efforts, he's going to make his way through the field because he's been so clutch at Pocono in the past. Same thing with Ryan Blaney in that long run speed, how he's able to pass certain drivers consistently throughout the long runs of a race, I think is very important. Because of those two factors there, give me Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney, like you mentioned as well. Another driver that I want to bring up, though, that is on my betting card is Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher at plus 2,000 on some books. I'm looking at BetMGM here specifically. DraftKings also has him at that same price. And I love those odds there for Chris Buescher. I think this is a track where maybe a little underrated Buescher could be here, but in terms of the comparisons we're using, like Michigan, like Kansas, for that front straightaway, and then being able to see him potentially pass cars on the turns is happening here, I think, from time to time. But with the season and how it's gone specifically for Chris Buescher, that's where I think he can make his money this weekend, and we can make money with him. Seeing him be fast at Michigan, I'm looking at Michigan a lot in this one, and I think it helps that Denny Hamlin was one of the fastest cars there to really draw comparisons to Pocono, being like, okay, yes, Denny Hamlin's always fast at Pocono, but what other tracks is he good at? And there's a lot of them, but I think a lot of them are we can use for high speeds. We can use for, long front stretches and things like that. That can really help us in this one. So for Chris Buescher, top 3 car and speed at Michigan, I could say he could have beat Denny Hamlin or William Byron in that matchup there at the end of the race. It just so happened Denny Hamlin was leading there. And then Tyler Reddick, hey, I'll have him on my card as of now. I think I'd probably wait until after practice and qualifying for this 4th spot. Maybe it's Reddick. I could also supplement for William Byron, another driver that I could sort of see there, or maybe Alex Bowman. Those would be my 3 drivers in this rotating 4th spot, if you will. I'd just hold off until after practice and qualifying because of how much we've seen these drivers win from starting inside the top 10. For Hamlin and Blaney, it doesn't matter for me where they're starting. And then for those, I do like the value on Chris Buescher as of now. I think that'd go down if they start inside the top 10, but qualifying is also not their strong suit. So that's a big key here. I think when we're talking about these outright winners is, yes, we love the favorites, and the favorites have been consistently winning this season, but who else can qualify inside the top 10, have that track position, and then be there at the end when it matters most?
Completely agree. I think Reddick as well is on, like I mentioned earlier, he's on my rotation for that 4th spot as well. Probably with Bell, honestly, because again, Byron's qualified well here the last couple of years. I'm going straight for him. I'm going straight for Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney. No question about it. Wherever they start, they will be on my card. But yeah, Reddick, again, the numbers don't lie. I think he can get something going if he starts in the top 10. Hell, even in the top 5 as well. So we're going to move into the prop section of the podcast. And I had to do a little bit of changing too, because I had some higher, less risky plays, but you sold me somewhere with Chris Buescher. I'm going to take him for a top 5 at plus 275. I'd put a unit and a half, maybe 2 units on that, just because it's really that Michigan performance that he put down a couple weeks ago. And Chris Buescher has been really good, and he's going with consistency. He's got a top 10 at Mexico City. He's been really well and really solid on road courses. I think Chris Buescher for sure could follow up his Michigan performance with another top 5 performance, and 275 is a great number for him. And I'm going to go William Byron at top 5 at plus 125, a little bit of a safer pick, but just to go with Byron in case he doesn't win. Top 5 number is still highly possible for him to get a second time round in 2 years in a row. And then I had to switch up the top. I had some top 10 props, but I gave him enough credit to where I'm going to go with them. I'm going to go with both the Legacy Motor Club Toyotas. Eric Jones, top 10 plus 275. The numbers are there for him to get it. And then John Hunter Nemechek. It's just solely based off performance across the board. I think John Hunter Nemechek at 10-1 is a crazy number. Might as well put a unit down on both those drivers to get a top 10. Their season has been underrated to say the least. And hell, they're in playoff contention for points. So if they can stick around the top 10, qualify up there, you're certainly not going to see that number for John Hunter Nemechek if he has a great qualifying. But Eric Jones for sure, plus 275. The books are respecting his past history here at Pocono. And I'd like to see one of them get a top 10 for the card. Tino, what about you?
Definitely agree with the Eric Jones one. That's where I'll lead off here. I'm on him too. Like you mentioned earlier on in the show, it's a 10.7 average finish in the next gen era here. 61% of his career at Pocono has been inside the top 10.
That's crazy.
That is crazy, and with how he's running has been crazy as well. I would say for Legacy Motor Club standards to see that uptick in success for them, but not only that, he's been cutting his finishing result in half from where he qualifies. So, for instance, if he's starting as 24th, he's finishing 12th. And it just goes so on and so forth, where he's starting mid-pack and still getting those potentially top 10s, top 15s. That's what's really important to me. We hear drivers and, fans talk about how hard it is to pass on, each and every week, and especially on Pocono, like you mentioned. That's fair. But one guy that's doing it is Eric Jones. So I love the value there for a top 10. Alex Bowman, top 10s plus money. I'd love to take that. He's someone that I said could be an underdog to win the race. So to see him be a strong contender for a top 10 at plus money, that's something I'd hammer now. Looking other guys that could present some value in this one. Those two are my primary top 10 plays for Alex Bowman and Eric Jones. I would keep an eye on Josh Berry. You mentioned him. Bubba Wallace, plus 130 I'm seeing for a top 10 finish. And he's finished 10th, 11th, 8th, and 5th here at Pocono in the last 4 races. 4th is where he finished at Michigan. So from that standpoint, I do like where he's at, when it comes to Pocono coming up this weekend. And for some top 5 plays for you, I'd go with Ryan Blaney at plus money. I've seen that. I think that's a good, strong contender for the win that we can also feel confident in bringing home just a solid top 5 if he doesn't get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. I like all those plays for the props. I have a great feeling about our cards this week, Tino. I think we're gonna hit at least one of those. I like Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney. I think it's gonna go well for us. We're going to go into our final segment, and we're just going to pick a favorite play outside of the Cup Series. And I got my eye on a guy from the Cup Series racing in Xfinity this week, and that is Chase Elliott at plus 380 to win the Xfinity race on Saturday. I put about 2.5 units on because, listen, it's just the 17 car. When they have one of their 4 guys in there, they become a threat to win any of these Xfinity races. Just looking at what Kyle Larson's done in that 17, hell, even the 88 when he replaced Connor Zilic.
Mm-hmm.
And Elliott, he has a win last year in the Xfinity Series at Charlotte. He did race that race, didn't do as well, but when you give him a race, and I think he had damage in this year's run of the race. So if he has a perfect car, he has a perfect day. 17 car at plus 380, second favorite odds. The favorite going into this race is Justin Allgaier, and kudos to him because he's been winning races left and right in this year, and he's the defending champion, of course. So Chase Elliott going in and kind of giving them a little bushwhack of their own this weekend. I think that's on the cards for plus 380 is a pretty solid number to go into the weekend with. I don't think you'll see a better number at all this weekend when it comes to the 17 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolet. Tino, what do you got cooking for either the trucks or the Xfinity Series this weekend?
Well, if we're talking trucks, I think my eyes would go to Carson Hocevar, right? You talk about Cup drivers racing in the lower levels. That's happening there. He's plus 350 to get the win. I'm not loving this from a Carson Hocevar standpoint. I'm liking it more so from a Corey Heim standpoint. Heim right now is plus 110 to get the win, but I think we can either take Heim or Hocevar and be correct and still be able to make some money. So that's where I'm looking at this race potentially going. Now, it could get a little dicey because obviously, you know, one of them may not win, but to see them both be the favorites and seeing that gap between plus 110 and plus 350, I would target both drivers because, like I said, depending on your unit allocation, you can still make money from the truck series there. And I'd expect Heim to be the clear favorite, kind of run away from the field. But if there's a driver that can beat him right now, it's whenever Carson Hocevar goes into the truck series. So definitely agree about your play with Xfinity Series Chase Elliott. Maybe if you guys want to parlay that up with the Corey Heim or Carson Hocevar, that could be kind of cool for you guys too, to just make the odds grow a little bit stronger. If I had to pick one winner and parlay them all together for a, you know, three-peat series weekend action here, I'd probably go Corey Heim in the truck series, Chase Elliott in the Xfinity series, and for the Cup winner, give me Ryan Blaney in this one, but it definitely could be Denny Hamlin as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe put 2 parlays on that, either or, like a little round robin session going there.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I mean, I think that for I was thinking for the truck series, Carson Hocevar, you can put about 3 units on. And then you put 5 units on like a Corey Heim. Of course, you allocate responsibly, gamble responsibly, of course. And that's still at least 3-unit profit if Heim wins it, or even more if Carson Hocevar wins it himself. So you never know if things go well for you in the truck series. Hopefully one of those hit. It's damn near guaranteed that one of those is going to hit. I feel, unless we get whatever we saw in the Michigan race, which I was not. I was down to see Stuart Friesen winning. Congratulations to him there. But we'll see how it goes this weekend in the Tricky Triangle. Tino, of course, thank you all the time for coming on the show. What do you got going on from your side from a content standpoint?
For sure. Well, I appreciate you having me. It's always a pleasure when I can hop on through the gears where you're here. I'm excited to see everything you're continuing to do this season. For me, you can follow me at Tino, Pattigno. And hey, I didn't mention it yet. I will be there at Pocono on Sunday. So if you see a gold jacket, it's me. Come say hello. I'm happy to, see any of you guys that I'm interacting with on social media here, or if I'm meeting for you for the first time, come say hi to me at Pocono. I'll be there on Sunday only, but I'm super excited to be in person to see that race go down with a potential victory and cashing out on some tickets. So I'll have some more social media updates for you there, so you can follow me. I'll also be on SiriusXM NASCAR radio throughout the weekend, so you can tune into there as well. But Wyatt, I appreciate you having me on. It's always a pleasure to hop on and cash some tickets with you. So I'm looking forward to making some money this weekend.
Don't get too crazy in those Pocono infields, man. I hear stories out there. I'm excited to see out there and all the content you'll have out there with the fans. You take a picture with him, man. He's fun to be with. He's just as fun to be with on track as it is to talk with him over the airwaves here. So be sure to check him out there. I'm at Wyatt W Racing on Twitter, Wyatt_GameTime_Watson on Instagram. And thank you for tuning into another episode here of Through the Gears. Hope we can get some money this weekend. Be sure to check out more of Front Stretch's content, including Bringing the Heat and Happy Hour with Brian Nolan this week, as they had Jeff Gluck on for a special guest. So that was good conversation with him, Dalton Hopkins, and Michael Massey as well. So check out that. That was a great episode. And then check out Stock Car Scoop after everything concludes from Pocono, as we dive into the big stories that come out of there. Maybe we get part 3 of Hocevar versus Stenhouse Jr. there. Who knows? And then check out the pit straight after action from Road America and the Austrian Grand Prix for Formula One. Thank you all for tuning in once again, and let's get some money in the Pocono Mountains.
Steven Stump of FrontStretch.com here. Come back for more great racing videos, and if you like us, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.